So I'm minding my business at a convention, and I find this. What the hell is this? Hey, what's up guys, this is RanStar2264, and it's been a while since I've even remotely discussed Star Wars. And it's been a while, so I decided it'd be fun to do a video of the 3 strangest astromech droids ever released by Star Wars. At least in this scale. So I thought, let's start with this that I got on eBay right here. So this is a Bendham's Star Wars action figure of some kind. I saw a pack of these guys at a convention, I think at the beginning of the year. It feels like forever. Yeah, you've been to so many conventions, they just all melding together. And it was a pack of 4 for like 10 bucks. And I got talking to the guy and he's like, oh yeah, they're like rubber bendable Star Wars figures. And they're not overly worth a whole lot of money, but I really wasn't interested in buying the other characters. So I went on eBay, and for a grand total of $5 plus another $5 of shipping, I got this R2-D2. So let's open it up. But Orion, isn't like a rare collectible? If you keep it in the box, I'm opening this thing right now. Now, thankfully, I've got the perfect tool for the job. Maybe not a lightsaber. I do have one of these really cool credit card knives. Now, I'm going to try my best to keep the packaging intact, and this might be a little bit challenging with one hand, so wait, hang on. My bad, I got this ancient technique. Hang on, it's not working. Come on, come on. It usually works by now. Wow, it's been in the box so long, it's starting like the yellow plastic is starting yellow. There we go. He is finally free from his plastic prison that he has been in since 1993, I think. Oh, what the heck? The legs actually bend? Oh, that's kind of neat. And bend backwards a little bit. Cool. I'm not gonna lie, I kind of like the cardboard. It's got that kind of 90s, feel to it. So definitely holding on to this. But that comes with this trading card. It's kind of funny. The back of the card actually looks pretty nice. It's a nice still from the movie, when the movies were still good, I guess. But a lot of people make fun of AI generated stuff. This isn't, but there are some people who it's just kind of one of those moments where you just sit back and laugh. That just looks ridiculous. But anyways, here's the toy, and it's actually not too bad. It's made of a pretty hard rubber, at least for the body and stuff. It's made of a slightly softer, bendable, rubber. And what? The feet, the legs are on backwards. The legs are backwards. That little swirly thing right here is supposed to be on the front of R2-D2. That's hilarious. I don't even know if they did it on purpose. Well, it's not painted. That's hilarious. So, yeah, the head doesn't turn. It's just basically one solid piece of a hard rubber. But yeah, that's that's so weird. Do I think it was worth $5? Yeah. It's obvious why these didn't sell very well. Yeah. But, it's kind of a weird novelty. It's not too bad. 1993. So yeah, this toy is over 30 years old. So, interesting, huh? And, yeah. That's kind of neat. I wonder if I can get those legs on the correct... And they're kind of just... Yeah, we're moving on. But they definitely weren't lying about it being bendy. I don't know if there's like a wire in there or something, but it's actually got a fair amount of flexibility. Now I'm a little bit curious to get the other characters to see how they are, but anyways, it is a neat little novelty item. It's not like a super cool collectible, but doing a quick comparison to the R2-D2, the other R2-D2 that was released just about the same time period, Yeah, you can kind of see that they're similar in some ways. So, but I can easily say the action figure R2 is way better than the weird bendable one. And just because I have, the other, R2D, one of the older R2D2s right off to the side, so that's kind of a little quick size comparison with R2D2s before the 2000s. And speaking of something else from the 90s, so a mostly normal R5D4, right? It's got some guns. I don't remember those in the movie. Nope. This is actually a missile launcher. Huh. That's cool. Yeah, this is a legit toy. This isn't a bootleg. This isn't a knockoff. This is a legit Star Wars action figure, and it splits in half, and it's a giant missile launcher. It's actually got a fair amount of really nice detail, figuring that it's from the 90s and stuff. So the head obviously doesn't rotate, it kind of splits in half, but it's got these two giant guns, which I'm very much convinced this was the inspiration by the Galaxy, this is the inspiration behind the Galaxy's Edge astromech blasters, which I actually have on hand. So, yeah, very, very similar. But anyways, so yeah, a spring-loaded missile R5D4. I don't know who asked for this. I don't know who chose this, but it's actually kind of cool. So, and nowadays it's a little bit hard to find it with the missile attached, but it's not impossible. The Star Wars action figures from the 90s just did not sell very well, and people bought a bunch of them. Hoping, they'd be rare, but not really. So you can find this guy pretty cheap. I think I paid like, I don't know, under 10 bucks. So, anyways, pretty cool. I'm not gonna lie, there's something kind of cool actually having both the R2D2 and R5 from the Power of the 90s line. But kind of cool having them side by side, and how actually a little bit taller R5 is. So it didn't just like cheap out and use the exact same mold, but that was pretty cool. Alright, let's see if I can take out a stormtrooper real quick. Nice! I've always been one hell of a shot. And it's just a quick side-by-side with Kenner Star Wars R5D4, or an original R5D4, before the 90s. Moving on to the final thing that was actually released fairly recently, about 10-ish years ago. And this last one you can actually still buy in stores, is a metal model kit. It's a model kit where it comes in really thin strips of metal, and you bend it, and you can make a little model out of it. Now, I actually do have one of these. I never built it because I tried building one at one point in time, and these model kits are not for the faint of heart. They are quite difficult to put together, and I thought, you know what, I'd just rather spend, some money and just buy a pre-done action figure, which is maybe sometimes, actually I think they're about the same price. It kind of depends on where you shop around, or one of these. So I'd much rather just get a finished R2D2 that looks way better than just kind of a matte silver. And so how did I get this one? If you believe it or not, I actually found this little guy at a flea market for $2. Best $2 I've ever spent in my life, and it is certainly weird. It's not posable at all, it's just kind of on this metal base. It looks okay. This one, wasn't, put together the best, but way better than me. Ultimately, these things are cheap, they're not very good, and in my opinion, they're just not very good. I don't really see the appeal of it. Why have, a metal bendable R2 when you can get a plastic one that is infinitely more detailed and cheaper? Or I guess roughly the same price. I don't know. I think, these metal model kits in general are for like die-hard people who just have to have like every single version of a character, or just super heavy into model kits or something. I don't know. I never got the appeal for it, especially. I mean, maybe for like vehicles and stuff, but again, I think what it comes down to is the reason these are semi or were, or you know, why somebody would like them. They're cheap. You know, you can get them for, as you know, that's how I got a Millennium Falcon. It was a Christmas gift that my aunt sent me. You know, it was cheap. You know, it's Star Wars related. Who cares? Just send it to them. You know, it'll be their problem when they get it. So I don't know. I never understood the appeal. I haven't bought one since, besides, you know, a finished one. So I think for $2, that's not so bad. And those, in my opinion, are the weirdest Star Wars action figure R2-D2 astromech droids that Hasbro or Kenner has ever made, or whatever the metal company was. They're weird, but they're kind of interesting. I think out of the three of them, the R5 is probably my favorite. I mean, it's R5-D4 and he splits into a missile launcher. That's just cool, and he's got 2 giant guns. The metal one's kind of but the bendable figure is kind of an oddity that I'm glad I have in my collection now. They're really cheap, and if you want just kind of a bizarre thing to have in your collection, go for it. But if you just get one of these, I definitely recommend the R5-D4. Anyways, guys, if you were going to buy a Star Wars R2-D2 collectible, I'd recommend something a lot better. So, anyways, guys, this is Tyrannosaurus R2-D2 64 Sound Amigos. Peace, and have a great day, and may the Force be with you, always. It's kind of cool to think that I actually pretty much have every version of an astromech droid from 1978 to about 93. That's kind of cool. The only one I'm missing is the droid's variant of this guy, but I have no desire to own that one, so. Anyways. Cool. Hope you enjoyed the video. I probably won't be talking about Star Wars again for a while. So Disney really screwed up Star Wars. Ugh. Anyways, later.